Good evening from Tel Aviv. Hello everybody. Welcome to experiment number 8 of the one field. ברוכים הבאים לניסוי מספר 8 של השדה האחד. We are so excited to have you with us, especially this time, because experiment number 8 is actually a series of experiments. It means we are going to invest our time in research over time. אנחנו כל כך נרגשים שאתם איתנו, במיוחד הפעם, כי הפעם מדובר בסדרה של ניסויים. כלומר, אנחנו הולכים להשקיע את הזמן שלנו במחקר לאורך זמן. אני מיכל מילגרום-אור, מנטורית תודעתית ורוחנית, מייסדת של שינוי מתוך גדילה, בית ספר הגבוה לתודעה מתחדשת בראי מסע הנשמה. I'm Michal Milgrom-Or. I'm spiritual mentor, founder of Change from Grow, the highest school of rewind consciousness. I'm challenging the soul journey of humankind. הניסוי הזה ישודר בפייסבוק, ביוטיוב ובזום. אם אתם בזום, אתם יכולים להיכנס לצ'אט שלנו ולמצוא את הכישורים גם ליוטיוב וגם לפייסבוק. This experiment will be broadcast in Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. If you got any kind of problem to hearing us, you can go inside the Zoom or YouTube. You can find the links inside the chat of the Zoom. אז מה זה אומר סדרת ניסויים? So what does a series of experiments mean? אחת לחודש, מיוני עד דצמבר, בכל 21 לחודש, באותה שעה, נחזור על אותו ניסוי, על אותה כוונה. Once a month from June to December, every 21st of the month, at the same time, we will repeat the same experiment and the same intention. האם אנחנו יכולים להאיר את לב האנושות ולהעלות את הרטט של השדה הגלובלי? Can we awaken the art of humanity and raise the vibration of the global field environment? המטרה שלנו היא להיות מאוד ממוקדים בכוונה הזאת, ולכן הפעם אנחנו שואפים לאירוע קצר שלא יארך יותר משעה. Our goal is to be very focused on this intention, so we aim for a short event that won't last more than an hour, but we not promise. אבל בלי מוזיקה אי אפשר. ורוברט קוקסון, מלחין, פסנתרן, מפיק מוזיקלי, וכמובן המלחין המוזיקה של השדה האחד, ייתן לנו את אקורד הפתיחה. But without the music, it is impossible. And Robert Coxon, composer, pianist, music producer, and the composer of the music of the one field, will give us the opening chord. Next to you, Robert. so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you so much for music that touches the heart. תודה רבה לרוברט על המוזיקה המדהימה הזאת, שנוגעת תמיד, תמיד, תמיד במקום הנכון. וממש עכשיו, בלי עיכובים רבים, אנחנו נעבור לדוקטור רולי מקרטי. דוקטור מקרטי הוא מנהל המחקר במכון HeartMath, המתמטיקה של הלב. And without further ado, we will move to Dr. Rollin McCarty. Dr. Rollin McCarty, PhD, is the director of the research of the HeartMath Research Center on the HeartMath Institute. כפסיכולוג פיזיולוגי, תחומי המחקר שלו כוללים את הפיזיולוגיה של הרגש ואת התקשורת והקשר בין הלב למוח, והקשר של בין בני אדם למערכות האנרגטיות של הארץ. As a psychosociologist, Dr. McCarty, research interests include the psychology of emotion, heart-brain communication, and global interconnectivity between people and the Earth energetic system. דוקטור רולן השתתף במספר סרטים דוקומנטריים וכמובן בסרט השדה האחד. He has been featured in a number of documentary films and of course in the film The One Field. דוקטור רולין מקרטני יעביר לנו רקע על מכון HeartMath, על הניסוי שאנחנו הולכים לעשות ואופן השימוש באפליקציה שפותחה על ידי המכון. הוא ינחה את הניסוי, ובסופו של דבר ייתן לנו רקע לגבי ההמשך. He will give us background on the HeartMath Institute, on the experiment we are going to do and how to use the application developed by the Institute. He will guide the experiment and in the end will give us background regarding the contribution of series of experiments. Rollin, are you with us?
I am indeed. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my PowerPoint slides that I want to use to introduce you all to what we're doing and what the experiment is about and how the various ways that we will be measuring this over the coming year. So thank you for all being here and taking your time, and good day to you from wherever you are around the world. If you already have the Global Coherence app downloaded, go ahead and hook it up. Get ready, because we'll use that during the meditation part of the experiment. And I see there's a lot of people already in the app. It's really fun on the map and on the app to see so many dots from around, so many countries around the world who are participating with us here today. So I want to really just kind of cover, but basically how love connects us. That's really the essence of what I want to talk about today. And we talk a lot about coherence. It's a term we use in scientifically. Coherence describes how well the parts of a complex system are working together or not, right? It's in a coherent system, there's harmony amongst all the parts. And one of the concepts within a coherent system is that the wholeness, the output, is greater than the sum of the parts, right? And in a coherent system, there's stability, and we are using energy efficiently. We're cohering, we're organizing the noise. So we're here in this, our work in the experiment we'll be doing, we're going to be looking across coherence at our personal level, how coherent are the systems in our body, and that's reflected in our heart rhythm, best way to measure that. But also we're going to be looking socially and globally as well, because its coherence was really across all those spheres. An important concept was demonstrated by a pretty famous guy here now, Ilya Prigogine, who demonstrated in a Nobel laureate here that small islands of coherence, when introduced into a chaotic system, can shift that whole system, that sea of chaos, to lift the system into a higher order. That's really what this is all about, right? If you think of the billions of people, we're a relatively small island of coherence, but we have a surprising capacity to really change things and hopefully in a measurable way. So a project we launched, I forget how many years ago, 15, 16, 17 years ago, somewhere in that range. I'm horrible with past time. It's called the Global Coherence Initiative. And just to kind of give you a very high level perspective here, we live within magnetic fields, with the earth, we're bathed in them. And what we're suggesting is that these fields that we all live within connect all living organisms. Not the only way we're interconnected, but it's certainly an important one, and one that we can measure, one that we can test. So the fields interconnect humanity, trees, animals, nature itself, I would even suggest. So we're all living in this common vibrational field, and we're all contributing to it based on especially what we're feeling. If we're feeling angry and fearful, that's what we're radiating into the field environment in a measurable way. Or if we're feeling more kindness, compassion, love, that's the vibrations we're contributing to the field. And if that's correct, and I suspect why you're all here today, is when we come together, large numbers of people come together in heart-centered states of more love, compassion, it generates a more coherent field environment. And we're coupled to the larger field. And that can help benefit all of humanity, help create, I think of it as pulsing the field with love and compassion. That can help lift all of us. And we do that enough, we eventually create what we think of as a new baseline. Now, the image you see here, this is not an artistic thing. This is actual data. This is from 5 satellites that NASA launched a few years ago, specifically to visualize and study the magnetic field of the Earth. So the little white dot, that's Earth in the center of this. So you can kind of see the complexity of the geomagnetic field that we live within. And this is, of course, a static image, but you can actually kind of see these field lines, magnetic field lines. They're actually vibrating, they're resonating. They're being plucked just like guitar strings because of the solar wind rushing by and the Earth is turning. So it's causing the magnetic field lines to vibrate. And they have a resonant frequency. These are called field line resonances. We can measure those, and we have a global system for all around the Earth for measuring the resonant frequencies and the vibrations in the Earth's fields. It's called the Global Coherence Monitoring System. I won't go into, I'm trying to be brief on time here. This is the one in California, but we have these in Saudi Arabia, Lithuania, Northern Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, for example. So we have this is the only truly global system for monitoring the frequencies of the Earth. Now, when we measure these frequencies on Earth, one of the primary resonant frequencies of these vibrating field lines of the Earth that we all live within, in frequency language, is 0.1 hertz. Okay, so that's a rhythm that translates, if you're looking in time, like on an oscilloscope, every 10 seconds you see a wave. And it's really interesting, you know, if you look at these magnetic vibrations that we measure in these global magnetometers, you can't tell them, they look just like human brainwaves. You can't tell the difference. You know, if I showed you a diagram of them. So all of these range of frequencies overlap with the rhythms in our nervous system, in our heart rhythms. In fact, this is really important, because when we're in what's called a heart coherent state, which is what the Global Coherence app that you're all been encouraged to download and use as part of this experiment, when we feel love, compassion, and key word is feel it here, a heartfelt experience of that, when we're feeling kind, care, our heart rhythm flips into this or shifts into this coherent rhythm that we call heart coherence. It's the same frequency as the primary resonant frequency of Earth, 0.1 hertz. It's what a coherent rhythm looks like. And you'll be able to see this in real time on the Global Coherence app, your own heart rhythm. So when we're in sync, if you will, or we're resonant with the Earth's frequency, we have more capacity to couple to the field, to interject that coherent rhythms into it, those emotions. This is an experiment. I know this is a complicated looking graph, but this is, I'm going to cover a lot really quick here, but these are groups of people around the world: California, Lithuania, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia, and the UK and England, who are wearing recorders that record their heart rhythms or heart rate variability 24 hours a day. And they did this for 2 weeks, 15 days. In the middle of that experiment, there was a lot of reasons we did this, but one of the things we did is we had them do a technique called a heart lock-in. where you get coherent and you can intentionally radiate love and compassion into the field. We're going to be doing that here as a group later. What this part of this research project was looking at was how in sync are the group members in each of these groups at the group level with the rhythms of the earth. Okay. The big tall green bars that you see there. This is the day that we organized all the groups to do this 15-minute exercise for 15 minutes to get into this heart coherent state. What this data shows us that across all of the groups, that increased their synchronization, not only within themselves, with each other within the groups, but with the earth itself for the following 24 hours. Okay? Get what I just said. Just being in a heart coherent state for a few minutes, 15 minutes, increased our synchronization and harmony with the earth for the next 24-hour period. Okay? So that increases that coherence, if you will, between us and the earth itself. So we can measure this, right? Now, another one of the aspects we're going to be looking at here over the next year, how we can measure what we're pulsing into the global field, is done through what's called the Global Consciousness Project. Some of you are probably aware of that. What you may not know is that the HeartMath Institute is the new home for it. And we've spent the last 2 years completely redesigning, redeveloping, and launching a new version of this. So these are devices that are physical devices that are starting to be distributed around the world, called RNGs, or random number generators. Now, what we've learned from GCP-1, which has been around for about 25 years, looking at that data, the more of these devices we have around the world, the more sensitive the network will be to detecting the changes in the global field environment. Okay, so think of a random number generator as an electronic coin flipper, right? If we flip a coin 100 times, odds are that it's going to come out 50 heads and 50 tails, right? You know, you keep doing that. So random number generators just do that really fast. Instead of heads and tails, you get ones and zeros. Now, when you flip the coin 100 times, even though on average it may come out 50-50, there are going to be runs, if you will, of a lot of heads in a row, or a lot of tails, or sequences of heads and tails. And what the Global Consciousness Project does is having these devices all around the world. What we see at a global level, global scale, is that these devices start flipping heads all at the same time in long sequences, or tails, way past what they should be doing it from a random perspective. Now so these devices are hosted by citizen scientists, people like you around the world. And we have certain areas we want to have more of them in, more clusters and large areas and things. So in a way, this is also an invitation to participate at that level if you would like. Now, this is from what we now lovingly call GCP-1, the work of Dr. Nelson over the past 25 years, has looked at many events. And what we see is that when something happens in the world that triggers us to feel something, lots of people, masses of people, that this global network changes its behavior, becomes more correlated. Now, this is a graph of over 500 events like that, that he's looked at over the last 20 some years. And the red line, the black line at the bottom where it says 0, it says chance expectation. That's what the red line should be, right? If this was just all random. And what you see is the red line is the composite statistics on this. And it's 1 trillion to 1 against the odds statistically of this being a chance finding. This is very, very powerful data, showing that what we feel and what we are radiating into the field is measurable at a global scale. And that's the key thing. It's non-local. This is a global effect. Now, one of the most, I think, important things that Dr. Nelson has shown over the GCP-1 project is that the events that have a lot of love and compassion in them, global peace days, Earth days, events like we're doing here today, these kinds of things, large meditation events, have a significantly greater effect on moving the dial, if you will, on creating coherence within this global network than events that are in say, medium. And medium would be events that have a lot of emotion, like big football games, Super Bowls, or World Cups, these kind of events. A lot of emotion, right? Because we know that's important, but not a lot of love and compassion. And the low category are things like terrorist attacks and shootings and these types of things, big earthquakes, these types of things. So what I'm really trying to share with you here is the efforts that we put in. When we add love to the field, it really matters and it's measurable. Now, with GCP1, one of the it's just been in the background. Nobody really even knew it existed, right? So just looking what happens when a lot of people get triggered to feeling something, whether positive or negative. With GCP2, the next generation of this, we're adding something else. We're going to add intentionality. What happens when we come together and intentionally pulse the field with more love and compassion, right? One of our hypotheses, and we already have some support for this, is that it doesn't take millions or hundreds of thousands of people, which is what GCP1 was really looking at, big news events, is it can be a very small group, or a much smaller group anyway. When we're coherent and focused, can even have it in a larger effect or as big of an effect as hundreds of thousands or millions of people. In other words, coherence matters. And that's one of the things. In fact, this is the first experiment we're doing with all of you to really help test that over time. One of the things we've learned is that you have to have multiple events. So you just can't do it one time. You've got to look multiple times over the same event to do science, to build statistics, to really be able to look at this. This is what the new devices look like, the Global Coherence Project 2.0. These are next generation devices. Technology has come a long ways in the last 25 years. And these new devices will be looking at the network at a much deeper level. So we can do a lot deeper science, trying to understand the mechanisms, for example, in addition to increasing the sensitivity. So if there's anybody out there that would like to potentially become a host, you can go to the website is gcp2.net, and you can apply to be a host, and all the details are there if that's of interest to you. The other part of the Global Coherence Initiative project, how we're measuring the effects, how we pulse the field, is through living systems as well. Remember, I said the field connects us all living systems, trees, plants, animals. And one of the living systems that we can work with here that is a great research subject are trees. So I think of this as giving a voice to nature. So this is a global network for monitoring the electrical activity of trees and how they're responding. Okay, so these are devices, another citizen scientist project. If you have a favorite tree, you can hook it up. We have about 15 left to reach our goal of 100. And it sends the data back to a server where you can see what your tree is doing and all the others around the world. As it turns out, trees have very rich, very dynamic electrical lives. And they're producing voltages when we put electrodes across the tree that are in the same range as human heartbeats. They're in the millivolts. These are huge potentials. And nobody really understands yet how trees do this, but they do. And so they have circadian rhythms, and they're changing their behavior, of course, to a lot of environmental reasons, like the amount of water and things like this. But we're also looking for how they respond to human emotions when we come together to pulse the field. Do they respond in a similar way or in a correlated way with the physical devices, the random number generators, and what we see in the fields, these types of things? So if you're interested in learning that or just seeing how the trees around the world are behaving, there's a website for that. It's treerhythms.net. Okay, so these are some of the ways that we'll be looking at this, I think, grand experiment we're all doing together. And so my main message here is the vibrations we radiate into the global field matter. They matter more than you might know. And one of the sayings, or things that our founder, Dr. Childrey, often reminds us of, and in his books, is that love is never wasted. Whenever we feel kindness, love, compassion, that matters more than we know. So he often says, don't look over your shoulder to see what happens. Just know that it's never wasted. It's help uplifting the global field. Now, it's another part of the experiment to ask that question I talked about earlier. Can small numbers of people, if they're more coherent, can we have as big of effects or even larger effects than hundreds of thousands or millions of people? One of the ways that we can test that is by measuring how coherent we are as a group, as a community. And so the Global Coherence app is what allows us to do that. And this is a mobile app, free, download it. And it has screens that show you both your personal, individual level of coherence and the community, the group's level of coherence. And so we're going into what's called the global group to do this. And there's about 80 people I see in the app right now. And it has a map. I won't get into that. There's a lot of tutorials. When you come into the app, there's a little gear icon that takes you to the settings. And there's a thing in there that has tutorials if you want to learn more about the app and how to use it, create your own groups. So it has a visual screen that if you don't like a lot of data and squiggly lines, it changes the screen. The center becomes bigger, brighter, more dynamic, reflecting your own personal coherence. And the outer rings reflect the community, the group's level of coherence. Okay. Then the other screen is for people like me who want to see I love seeing my heart rhythm in real time and my scores and what's going on. So whichever you prefer, it doesn't really matter. Now, one of the things that I think sets this app apart now, last year we were able to finally figure out how to use your phone's camera. So you can actually, if you've got your phone, you put your finger on the appropriate lens and it shows, so you can use the camera on your phone as your sensor to sense your pulse, your heart rhythm, and calculate it. And we did this because a lot of people around the world can't get one of the more professional sensors, or they can't afford them. And there are people in over 150 countries who are participating in the Global Coherence app. So this makes it available to everyone. Anyone and everyone can participate with a little practice if you want to. It allows us to measure the community's coherence. And if you already have, a lot of you probably do, one of the more professional sensors, by all means use that. That's what I'm wearing here today. Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to hold it in your hand. And for longer sustained meditations, it's just a lot easier to use. But either way, it doesn't matter. Okay, so with all that, we can do let's pulse the planet. Let's add some love and compassion to the global field. And over the series of events, of these monthly events, we'll be monitoring through these other systems I've just shared with you, what happens, right? Or what's our love and compassion doing? Okay, so I'm going to stop to share here. A little bit easier to see each other and what's going on. It's great. We've got about 83 people I see in the app right now. So with that, let's go ahead, and if you want to close your eyes, that's fine for this. No, it's not required. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. So love is the core heart frequency that is practical and intelligent attribute of the heart. Love and kindness unify and help to lift people's perceptions above judgment, separation, and fear. This softens the energetic connections around us, creating a deeper experience of resonance with others. With the polarization that's present in the world around us today, it's more important than ever to broadcast love, compassion, and calm into the global energetic field. So let's begin by focusing our attention in the area of the heart. And as you breathe, pretend you're breathing right through the center of your chest. Breathe a little slower and deeper than usual. Find a rhythm that's comfortable. It's easeful for you. Just get familiar with that deeper, heart-focused rhythm, breathing rhythm. And as you continue the heart-focused breathing, genuinely breathe the feeling of love or appreciation you have for someone or something you care about. Breathe in that feeling of love, appreciation, or care. You may not always feel the love. The feelings modulate at times, and that's really okay. It's your genuine intention that matters. Because when we're genuine and sincere, that comes from the heart. Breathing the love, appreciation, it's increasing the heart energy running through our nervous system, our system. To continue breathing the feeling of love and appreciation. Now, feel your heart connecting with others around the planet, with the others who are all gathered here today, who are also intentionally sending love and compassion to help raise the vibration of humanity. As you practice sending love, feel it helping to calm your mind and emotions, increasing your emotional balance. Remembering to do this in these times of elevated stress. Breathe in and radiate love to the planetary field of consciousness. While you're doing this, imagine that you are contributing to the highest, best outcome for all. Now, let's radiate our collective love and compassion to help ease political and social divisiveness. Feel your compassion going out to people suffering or weary from the stress they may be experiencing. Knowing that as we do this together, it multiplies the effect of our heart's care. Now, direct your love for the next few minutes to other global or societal stressors that you care about. Where's your heart directing you to focus and send some energy to? It's these deeper connections with our own hearts and with others that will help draw the needed solutions for personal and global challenges. And I invite you to make a heartfelt commitment to radiate love for a minute or two at times throughout your day, or whenever you can think of it, knowing that love is never wasted. Feel your heart broadcasting love wherever you are, when you're with your family or friends, especially when watching the news, before, during meetings, interactions. Could be while you're stuck in traffic. Just breathe in and make that commitment to increase and commit to radiating love more often throughout the day, remembering to do that. Knowing that sending love is what can make the difference. Let's just continue radiating love to the situations that are close to our own hearts for as long as you would like. And as we close this meditation, know that the love that you've run through your system will have a carryover effect. We can continue that intention to be more in our hearts, be kinder, more connected, more compassionate with those that we interact with throughout the day. Just carry that into the day or the night. Thank you for adding your love and compassion to the global field.
Wow. And I need to speak after all this meditation and this music? It was such a beautiful, thank you. Wow. all my body in kind of vibration. It was so beautiful. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Rollin, on this, for the inspiration and the endless contribution to raise the human consciousness. Wow, that was beautiful. That was completely beautiful. אנחנו כאן מסיימים את החלק הזה שלנו. תודה לכולם על התהליך הזה. אני עוד כולי באנרגיות. תודה לכולם שהשתתפתם ותרמתם את קבלת הלב שלכם. בואו תשתפו את האירוע כמה שיותר ככה שנגדיל את ההשפעה הטובה. Thank you all for participating and giving your heart's intention. Please share this event as much as possible so we can increase the positive impacts. I want to thank also two good friends of mine, to Hagit and Yair Shavit, for sponsoring our events. תודה לחגית ויניר שביט המדהימים על החסות של הערב הזה. תודה לצוות השדה האחד, לשחר כהן על התמיכה מאחורי הקלעים, לאיתמר והצוות על השידור. Thanks the One Field team to Shachar Cohen for support behind the scenes, and Itamar and his team for the broadcast. Thank you, Rollin. Thank you, Robert. It was completely important and beautiful. And of course, thank you, Tzipi Raz, the producer and the creator of this beautiful movie and all this evening. And we're gonna meet again exactly in 1 month, in the 21 of July, on the same time. Come and meet us again. Thank you all. I was Michal Milgromor. We're going to see you again. Thank you. Good night. Bye from Tel Aviv.